Thank you. I'll get to the reason behind Twizzlers and Ensure shakes, which has become my staple diet later. My story starts about 2 years ago on my 28th birthday. I just celebrated my 30th birthday. I went to get my hair cut, again, spending money shopping, doing what I usually do on Saturdays. And my hairdresser actually brought attention to a mole that I had on my head, which I grew up on the Jersey Shore, so I was at the dermatologist every year getting things removed and checked, and I figured if everything else has been fine, why wouldn't this be? And lo and behold, on my 20th birthday, I got a call from the dermatologist saying, you need to go see this oncologist at NYU. I said, okay. And make a long story short, got the family together, and my dad was golfing in Phoenix at the time. He took the red eye back, and my mom and I went in. And just preface, what I will talk about, my experience has all been about who I've met. And as soon as my oncologist walked in that morning and looked at me and said, what the hell is a young girl like you doing here? I said, that's it. I'm going to be okay. Her personality and her exuberance and the way she addressed me and just instantly brought me in just made me realize that I'm going to be okay. And the first time around, the treatment was handled surgically. So I initially had a surgery on the top of my head. They took a large incision because they have to get all the surrounding areas. And my biggest concern was, well, what are you going to do with my hair? I literally made the surgeon hold on to a lock of my hair so I could turn it into a weave later, which I never did, but it's still there if I need it. The melanoma did go down into the lymph nodes, so I had a second surgery. And surgeries are tough and they're painful, but you have acute pain and you learn to live with it. And being the person that I am, I gave myself about 3 weeks rest and went right back into work, which, like the doctor said, I write for a pharmaceutical ad agency, and we specialize in oncology products, which was very helpful at the time because going in, I knew what these terms meant. I knew a lot about melanoma because we worked on a melanoma product, and it was helpful because I had an awareness going in about potentially what I was facing and what the drugs that I was going on were about and what they could do. So it was definitely helpful. The 2 surgeries luckily did the trick, and my final surgery was on May 21st. So on June 1st, we got the phone call that cancer had been cured. So life in my mind moved on, but I noticed it was different because at the time before my diagnosis, I was going out, going to bars, dating the wrong guys, doing everything that a 28-year-old woman should do. And getting back into my life, I noticed that, okay, these aren't necessarily the things I want to do anymore. But I played along, and I just regained my sense of self again to the best that I could at the time. As far as medical issues or protocol, the protocol at the time was to have follow-up CAT scans every 6 months. So I would see my doctor every 3, and every 6 I'd get a CAT scan, and I loved seeing them. And it was more like a happy hour to me, going in and just being reunited with people who, at the time when I was going through the surgeries and the recovery, I was seeing so much. So it was great for me just to be able to go in and spend time with them. So I went in this past October after a routine CAT scan, and the doctor walked in, hugged my parents, hugged me, said, how you doing? I said, well, how am I doing? And she didn't have a good look on her face. And she said, well, we need to talk. So, of course, my parents instantly start crying, and I just sat there, which my kind of disposition throughout all of this has just been to sit back and accept. So I sat back and got ready to accept whatever she was going to tell me. And she said, well, we found a mass. It's over your uterus and over some of your intestinal, your larger intestines. And I thought, okay, well, we'll get this biopsied. It's probably just some kind of cyst. Women my age a lot of times have ovarian cysts that are just benign. Lo and behold, to everyone's shock, it was melanoma again. And I say to my shock because even someone who has had melanoma, you still associate it as a skin cancer. One would never think, at least I would never think, that it could be in the form of an 8-centimeter tumor hovering over some large major organs. So again, it was a shock, but we went right into fighting mode. And my doctor and I, we didn't even need to have the discussion because she knew exactly that I was going to fight this. The difference with this melanoma was that it was inoperable because of the size and location. So as fortunate as I was to be able to have the first melanoma taken care of surgically, this time I was facing treatments. And ironically, again, treatments that I knew very well because of my job. So I started treatment in October. It was an infusion treatment, and I bittersweetly was reignited with my infusion nurses that I saw the first time around. I remember seeing Megan the first day that I went in. We hugged and we cried because I was so happy to see her, and I just said, I wish I wasn't seeing you under these circumstances, but life is funny like that. And the next stage of it was starting an oral therapy, which is where I'm at today. And this experience has been much different than the first, because the first was fast and furious. It was, here's your diagnosis, here's your first surgery, okay, the tumor or the cancer spread, here's your second surgery, okay, we're gonna follow it up with some interferon and make sure that you don't get a recurrence. And it was just bing, bang, boom, done. And now I'm looking at months, potentially years of treatment ahead of me. And I knew, okay, I can't just jump back into life, and I can't look at my life the way that I used to anymore. And as now a 30-year-old woman, that's tough to do, because everyone else seems to be going about theirs the way that they had planned. And I accepted what I was going through, and I had to accept that my life was now going to be different. So a big part of my life right now is finding and reaching out to and getting an awareness of young adults like myself who are living with cancer, or who were diagnosed years before they ever thought cancer would be a part of their life. And I have found some great groups. Most recently, I went to Las Vegas, of all places, for a seminar for young adults with cancer. And it was so amazing to be surrounded by people, women, men, friends. I brought a friend of mine, sisters, all walks of life that have been affected by this, because as supportive and as amazing as my healthcare team and my family is, it's very hard to find someone who just gets it, who, when you feel a certain way, understands that. And my mom and, like I said, everyone is fantastic for me to call and talk to when I do feel a certain way, but it's even more special to be able to connect with people who have felt that way and can truly empathize. And that's been the biggest part of my journey so far, is finding that empathetic ear and being that empathetic ear for someone. I've recently partnered up with Melanoma Research Foundation, and they started a buddy system program, and it's fantastic. I have a buddy, her name is Debbie. She lives in Chesapeake, Virginia, and she also is a stage 4 melanoma survivor who had a metastasis in her lungs. And so she knows that when you're sick of looking at your scars, you can learn how to turn the other way. And when you feel like crap, you get a good book and you stay in bed and you roll with it. And it's really helped me to learn more about myself and to learn more about the person that I'm becoming, because it very much is a different experience this time around, like I said. And like Tony's been doing, I started blogging, because the first time around, I didn't really have time to think. I just reacted. And this time I have had a lot of time to think about what I'm doing and where I'm going and what I'm going through. And I try very hard to always maintain a positive outlook. And sometimes it can turn dark, because it's cancer. I mean, when you think about it at its base level, it's cancer. And how does one cope with that? And how does one live with it for a while? So I started exploring my thoughts, because even though you want to be the fighter, and I am fighting, and I'm always battle ready, you also have to realize you're a person with cancer. And I would like to share with you and leave you with my thoughts on what I'm going through right now. This was actually inspired by a website that I found in my search to do more social networking, to find more people like myself. And it's a great site. It's called ihadcancer.com. And it's almost like a Facebook or an eHarmony for people with cancer. It shows you where different people are in the country, in the state, in my town of Hoboken, who have lived with different types of cancers at different ages. And it's just so nice to know that there are people out there like me. There's people like my mother out there who have had to look at their 28-year-old daughter stop working and having to take a break and put life on hold. But we all know that life will go forward, and that's what keeps me going, at least. So this website, I Had Cancer, had this amazing site, or part of the site, and it was called Dear Cancer, and everyone wrote their letters to their disease, and I felt it was one of the more powerful things I've ever read, and so I decided to write my own. Dear Cancer, I hate you. I hate how you make me feel. You scare the shit out of me. You make me feel at times so alone. You make me feel weak during a time when I should be physically strong. You make me feel stagnant when I want to move forward, and you make me feel like I'm going to be this way forever. You make me want to scream and cry when I would rather smile and laugh. You make me feel like I'm not myself. You hurt. I hate how you make me look. Now I have all of these scars. At one time I looked pregnant, another time my face looked like a balloon. I looked tired, I looked sad. I hated looking at all the needles going through my body. I hate looking at the drugs and feeling them go down my throat. I love you. You have taught me that I'm stronger than I think, and that despite the pain, I am able to walk forward away from you. You've shown me that there are so many more reasons to laugh than cry, and through the people you've connected me with, I smile now more than ever. I love you for helping me love myself just the way I am. Scars only form on the living, and I'm here to collect as many as possible so that I never have to see you again. Thank you. Thank you for introducing me to so many wonderful people. They have made my life so much richer and more complete. Thank you for making me see clearer, for making me love deeper, and for making me cherish all that I took for granted. I'm sorry. I think you owe an apology to me, my friends, and to my family. You've intruded my life and affected theirs, and it's not fair. I'm sorry that one day I'm going to leave you. We're going to break up, and it will be I who will break up with you. I will say goodbye to you. You will not be the one who says goodbye on my behalf. I'm sorry, but you're not going to get the best of me. You didn't the last time, and you won't this time. I hope to never see you again, but if I do, I'm going to apologize in advance for kicking your butt. You're a bully, you're a saint, you're my companion, and hopefully one day soon you'll be out of my life in a distant memory. And that is truly how I feel. I feel that this came into my life for a reason. It's put me in touch with so many amazing people, from doctors to nurses to the people I met in the Vegas convention to Rachel, who reached out and has me here today. And even though this is a disease, it's to me almost like a blessing because of what it's taught me about myself and what it's taught me about life and what it's taught me about, like I said, just taking everything and just loving every moment. And today is one of them. So thank you.